These are the breathing techniques that you should be doing to help you in your everyday life. Coach Barrick here, Equity Podcast, giving you tools to be fit for life. We're going to talk about breathing today. And what we're mainly going to talk about is different types of breathing and how they can help in different situations. Right? We have breathing that can help us upregulate, that fight or flight when we need to get that heart rate jacked up, or to downregulate, which is what we probably need to use more of. Getting upregulated, people generally don't have a problem with that. Getting downregulated, that's what people need more of. So that's bringing that heart rate down, reducing stress, relaxing, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first thing, before we get into like specific types, and I guess this is actually the first type. We're going to talk about 4 different types of breathing, and this first one is very broad, and that's nasal breathing. It's super broad, but in general, when we are breathing, most of our breathing should be through our nose. That is what our nose is for. It's for breathing. And the reason that we want to do this, and I get a lot of this information from James Nestor's book, Breathe, one of those two. And it's going to help us better oxygenate. There we go. Better oxygenate our blood. So when we're breathing in, it helps get it in there more efficiently. There's stuff with getting a specific type of molecule in the blood as well. It's called nitric oxide. And then when we're breathing through our nose, we have all those hairs, all the nose hairs in there and all that fuzzy stuff in there. And that helps filter out pollutants in the air and pathogens and all that stuff. So by breathing in through your nose, we're reducing the risk of getting pollutants inside of us. Right, when we're breathing through our mouth, we don't have that. The nose is meant for that. We get improved lung function as well. When we breathe through our nose, we generally, not always, but generally, we're going to talk about this a little bit, is we use our diaphragm. We start breathing in and out of our stomach, kind of like our stomach area, like that stomach raises when we breathe in, and then when we breathe out, that stomach lowers, right? We want that stomach lowering and rising, and it's that diaphragm right below the lungs. And then also, the main reason is it's also going to help reduce that stress response that we talked about earlier, and we're going to get more into like how can we lean even more into that. So that's just some of the reasons that we want that nasal breathing, and we want that to be our primary focus. And that's when we're going through our everyday life. You can even do like zone 2 cardio and focus on only breathing through your nose. It's going to be much harder, but that can help train you in doing that. But that's something that you need to build up to. It's like, hey, maybe I'm going to do that for 2 minutes or a minute. And then it's definitely a skill and a muscle that you have to flex. Like you have to use it to really learn how to do it more frequently. I breathe through my nose very naturally because of football. When you're wearing a mouthpiece in football, you have to breathe through your nose. So I got very good at doing that. So it's very natural for me. But a lot of people, it's not. So practicing breathing in, especially like if you're a swimmer, right? You actually do the opposite. You breathe out your nose and you breathe in your mouth. And so sometimes we have to work those different ways. And that's one of the reasons I struggled learning how to swim, honestly, is learning that breathing pattern. All right, so nasal breathing, super important. And that's kind of like the foundation. That is where we need to start. If we want to try some of these other methods, you need to start with nasal breathing. I actually do it a lot in the car. That's where I practice my nasal breathing a lot, or during warm-ups, when I'm on a bike, when I'm walking. I try to do a lot of nasal breathing. So the next one is probably the most common that people hear about, and they talk about it a lot about in yoga, in meditation, and that is box breathing. So box breathing, you want to think about it as, there's 4 parts to box breathing. And what you're going to do is you're going to breathe in for 4 seconds. You're going to hold for 4 seconds. You're going to breathe out for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds, and then repeat that cycle. So 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold. And then also what you can think about is we talked about that diaphragmic breathing, is making sure that that stomach is raising when we're breathing in. Hold, we have that like slight brace, and then when we breathe out, we're lowering that belly. We're filling it up and then closing it. And we do this a lot when we're trying to control our breath. It's very even. It's in and out. It's very repetitive. So like when we're trying to meditate, when we're trying to do stuff like that, it can be very, very helpful. And this is kind of like where a lot of people start with their breathing mechanics. Box breathing. 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 in. Sorry, 4 out. 4 hold, rather. All right. So the next one is, and you can use that box breathing for, down regulating. Anytime you're controlling your breath, whenever you're able to count those reps, whenever you're about to elongate that, it can be super helpful. But now we have another type, which is a longer exhale, right? So you can use the box style, but we're just going to go a little bit longer. Like holding in between is a really good thing. So we need a longer exhale than an inhale. So if I want to go 4 in, hold, breathe out, right? That's really good. And notice that time when I exhaled, that was through my mouth. That's fine too. Or just do the nose, right? We're looking for that longer exhale. I found when I started working on my breath work that I actually struggled more with the exhale. It was really hard for me to exhale a lot. And we'll get into a method next on how to help with that. So a longer exhale, and this is the down regulate. A shorter inhale with a longer exhale. You can just like think about when you're relaxing. What do? You always have that long exhale. What do? Right? It's that down regulation. That's what we're looking for. We're looking to reduce stress, and this is how we do that. Short inhale, long exhale. All right? This does a couple things for us. One, like I said, it helps reduce stress. That's just something that it does. I don't know the science behind it. I think they talk about it more in the James Nestor book. Huberman talks a little bit about it as well, where we're going to reduce that stress. And the other thing, I don't want to get super sciencey into this, but one of the reasons that we like that as well is when we're breathing, it's not just about getting more oxygen in your body. Yes, that is why we need to breathe, but the other thing that we need to do is we need to get rid of the waste. We need to get rid of the carbon dioxide. When you have that short breath in, I'm getting plenty of oxygen. I don't need more oxygen. The issue is that when you have a short exhale, you're not getting enough carbon dioxide out. So how you want to think about this is, let's say you have a train, and on that train you have carbon dioxide in there, and you're going to have the short breath out. So now just this little bit of the train is emptied. And now when we're trying to get oxygen back into the blood, only a little bit of oxygen can get on the train, right? We only let out 10% of our carbon dioxide. That's just a random number. So now I can only use that little bit. I brought in, I could have filled up that whole train with oxygen, but I only left enough room for 10% to be filled up with oxygen. So now that when it goes in, that's all I have to use. When we have that longer exhale, now that train can exit. We can get more carbon dioxide out of the train, And now I can use all of that oxygen. It can get on the train and I can send it to where it needs to go. So having that longer exhale will help us get rid of carbon dioxide so we can use more oxygen, so we can do more work, so we can do those things. So it helps us get rid of that. Longer exhale, short inhale, long exhale. Now, I mentioned that I had struggle with long exhales. Long exhales. I had a real trouble with that. And then at times, I also find that sometimes, like I can only, like if I overemphasize trying to raise my stomach when I'm breathing in, I actually get stuck trying to inhale as well. So as I was reading James Nestor's book, he's talking about all this. So obviously, when you're reading it, you're actually like you're trying it. And I found that I had a very hard time doing it. And I can't remember if it was his book or it was somebody else talking about it. But there's this idea of taking a sip of air after you inhale. And then you can do actually the same thing on an exhale as well. But some reason that having that little extra sip on an inhale helped me better exhale. So what you can do, this is the same thing. It's a short inhale, longer exhale. But what we're going to do on that inhale is we're going to take a little sip. So it's going to be. So I'm going to take this big inhale and then take another little and then exhale. And then you can also do this. We can kind of do like this in box breathing. So take in a big inhale, take an inhale, sip in, hold, exhale, sip out, hold, and then do that again. And that's actually how I train myself to take in longer inhales and longer exhales. It helped me realize that like I would just give everything I had and like I got nothing left. And then all of a sudden when I tried to sip out, like all of a sudden I had something else to end out. And what that is, that empties out all of everything in the lungs and it just gets more out so you can get more in. And like you said, it helps train yourself in elongating those inhales and exhales. So short in, long out. And then we can also try, once we work on that, we can try that sip. And if we need to train ourselves, try that sip. Really beneficial for stress and all those things. Like if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling like you're upregulating, if you need to bring yourself down, if your kid's crying or something at work or whatever, right? And you don't have to be over the top. I'm trying to be over the top when I'm doing this right now so you guys can hear it in case you're listening. So it can be more subtle, but find your times to use that. All right. So now the next one is upregulating. And we're going to do the exact opposite of this. This is the type of breathing you see in a workout generally. This is the type of breathing that you'll get when you do a cold plunge. And this is Wim Hof. So what you're going to do is you're going to have a longer inhale and a short exhale. And what you're going to notice, if you keep doing that, you're going to notice your heart rate's going to start going up. So I was listening to a podcast, and they had this trainer that does Wim Hof breathing, and he was doing a demonstration of what they would do in a Wim Hof like seminar. So they was taking people through a breathing exercise. I was like, oh, I'll just go along, and I'm driving, and I was sitting at a light, and I'm doing this, and all of a sudden, I started getting a little like woozy, a little lightheaded. And they actually tell you like you should be sitting down, or even a lot of times they'll actually have people laying down when they do this. But I didn't think anything of it. And all of a sudden, like I'm in the car, like starting to like get all kinds of a certain way. So I actually had to stop because I was getting like it was upregulating me, and I was getting a little nauseous, getting a little lightheaded. So it's very powerful in being able to do that. We see this a lot with working out as well. What are you trying to do? Everybody thinks, oh, I need more oxygen. I need more oxygen. So they start breathing faster, trying to get more in. What we talked about earlier is like, if you're taking in all this oxygen but not getting it out, you're not going to be able to use that carbon dioxide. But we still have that heart rate's going to start going up, and that's why we do this in a cold plunge. Is with that heart rate going up, we're going to get our body temperature up. We're going to have that response because we're so cold, right? We're trying to we're trying to stay warm. So that's why we see that. Now, eventually, you can start doing different types of breathing in that cold plunge, but generally, that's the way Wim Hof kind of does all of his cold stuff. And that is a book that I haven't really gotten to. I've read and listened to a lot about it, but that one's on my list to really dive in a little bit deeper on that. Generally, like I said, we don't need to upregulate as much. It's that down regulation that we need to focus on. What we're trying to do is build tools for the toolbox. There is not, hey, this is how you should be breathing. We want to know when, in certain situations, where can I use this? I'm really stressed. What should I do? I'm getting ready to go work out. I'm getting ready to go do something hard. Like what type of breathing do I need to be using? Can breathing through my nose help me in my everyday life? Can it help me with my sleep? If I start breathing through my nose more, maybe I won't snore as much at night. Because when we snore, it's because our mouth is usually open and our tongue is somewhere where it shouldn't be. So it impinges that breathing mechanic. So we're not breathing properly. How can I use this to help other parts of my life, right? We're trying to move. We're trying to eat well. We're trying to sleep. We're trying to think. We're trying to connect, right? Going outside, breathing in our nose, out our mouth, taking in that fresh air, being able to connect with nature, being able to sleep better, being able to breathe better, being able to manage our stress better is going to help us live a better life. It's going to help us have that longevity that we're looking for. It's going to help us perform better in the gym, in that sport that we play, in life, right? If you can feel yourself getting angry, getting stressed about something your partner's doing, being able to take a second, like the ability to put distance between a feeling and a reaction is huge, right? Instead of reacting to that situation, taking that time to breathe, to take a breath, now we can respond to that situation. And think about the difference between reacting and responding. If your kid is having a tantrum and you react, are you going to be happy with that action that you took when you reacted? Probably not. If you take a breath, my child's having a hard time right now. I have hard times as well. How can I be there for them right now? I need to respond to this, not react to it. Now, what's that going to look like? What is that action going to be compared to that reaction, right? Respond, don't react. This isn't just about fitness. It's about life. It's about living life to whatever you think the fullest is. What is your fullest life? And this can help us in all of those areas. Thank you so much. I really hope this was helpful. A little bit longer one today. If you think this might be helpful for somebody else, if you think this could help them improve their life, share it with them. Comment, hey, check this out. This really helped me. This is something that I've been thinking about trying. I think this might really help you. If you liked it, you know, like it. The more people that like it and share it, it helps find a greater audience, and then we can help more people. Like, I want more happy, healthy people in this world. And that's why we do this. We want to add a toolbox, add a tool to everybody's toolbox so they can live a happy, healthy life. Thank you guys so much. Cheers.